Normally when you think of getting the flu, it's getting a cough, a sore throat, or a fever. But this week there is a tragic reminder about the bigger problems and side effects. We are talking about problems like organ failure or swelling of the brain and heart. WFON News 2's Jansen Silvers has the warning all of us should hear.
As of this Thursday, 68 people have died from the flu this year just in North Carolina. And unfortunately, at least one more from Raleigh might be added to that list.
High-pitched, squeaky voice, and it's not here. And that's what I miss.
Families across the country dealing with the devastation of losing a loved one from the flu. One family in Texas lost their young son this past week.
When I got there, they finally told me that he was gone. And I can't comprehend why. He's so little.
According to social media posts, the flu or symptoms associated with the flu are also hitting here at home. In an update from a family health blog and a tweet from the head of Grace Christian School, Skylar McCardle, an 8th grader there, died from a flu complication called myocarditis.
That's inflammation of the heart, so the heart gets bigger. But other complications also include encephalitis, where the brain swells, and myositis, where muscle tissues can also swell. These are rare cases, but in all cases, these complications from the flu can be deadly.
Remember, these are rare cases, but they can happen.
Now today I was able to speak with a Guilford County doctor. Dr. Lawrence Schlanger from High Point says this year's flu season has been more mild. Dr. Schlanger also says it's still not too late to get your flu shot if you haven't.